FM.
Hello. This week's interview is of Martin Sinclair, whose brother you might have heard of, Scott Sinclair, used to play football for Chelsea, Man City, Swansea, and is now back. He did very successful in Celtic in Scotland and is now back in Bristol Rovers, his first club. And so Martin Sinclair is a CP footballer, now retired for a second time. And I volunteered at the Saints Foundation back in 2008, 2009, and I met him by chance then at the Saints Foundation, and also when he worked at Toulouse. I was a student and he worked there. Toulouse is a residential disabled school and college. And so here is the interview of Martin Sinclair. Well, first of all, Martin, thank you for coming on.
No worries. No worries at all, mate. Nice seeing you again.
Yes, again. So I need to introduce you. So you're England cerebral palsy footballer, play for England, and you're also local to Southampton, partly for your SaintsAbility development officer.
I was, yes. I was.
Oh,
Not anymore, but yes. It was
Okay.
a good job role, which Rob Pearce was part of the Saints Foundation development team, and it was good times there. Good times. I built two programs with Rob Pearce and Mike Pink's help, looking at the elite side of things, the elite pathway, because there was nothing in Hampshire for elite disabled people to go on to that England pathway. So I'm glad for Rob to invite me in and give me the job that I set up two programs with his help and with Southampton's help, Saints Foundation help as well.
So your only life, it's a footballing family, isn't it?
Yes.
You and your
Yes.
brothers.
Yeah, so basically when I was younger, my dad was a semi-professional footballer playing for a local team. So I used to watch him every Saturday with mum and obviously my younger brother, Scott. And that's how I got into football, basically. And I eat, sleep and breathe football when I was growing up. So football was my main outlet of playing, and that's what I loved doing. So yeah, that was probably the start point from my dad playing football.
Yeah. And we should just say, you mentioned Scott, who obviously used to play for Chelsea, Man City, went on to Celtic, did very well at Celtic. I followed him a bit there, and he's now gone back to Bristol Rovers, his first club, I hear as well. So it's, a lot of profile, with Scott, and then for you as well.
Yeah, obviously he's doing his own thing, and obviously he wanted to be a professional footballer when he was younger, and he's only living his dream basically. And like I said before, he wanted to play football since he was younger. So fair play to him that he's got to where he was. Obviously going around clubs, Man City, Celtic, and he's made it as a footballer. So I'm proud of him.
Yeah. They've got and obviously your disability is cerebral palsy, but which type is it? There's 4 types, isn't there?
So basically I've got cerebral palsy. I'm paralysed on my left side of my body, which is the condition is called hemiplegia.
Okay. Interesting. And and then so how did you get into football itself? I mean, cerebral palsy football, because I'm assuming back in the day it wasn't available.
Yeah, so it wasn't. Obviously, back when I was younger in the 80s and 90s, no one knew what cerebral palsy was. No one knew what a disability was. So there wasn't enough knowledge or education around disability in general. So I had to find mainstream football clubs, grassroots clubs as well to get into football. And that was my first initial place where I started off, obviously, grassroots mainstream football. And then I probably didn't even get into cerebral palsy football until I was probably 21. And that was probably the first time I've met someone like myself, like myself, and I'm not gonna moan about the situation I'm in because there's someone else worse off than me. So me, when I was playing, when I was younger, it just made me a stronger person when I did get into SaintsAbility football when I was 21, 22.
Yeah, and was it was at that point where you were in a wheelchair uh, and had a hip replacement. Is that right?
Yeah, so when I was 15 years of age, I broke my hip going down a slide, and I got misdiagnosed for about 2.5 weeks. And they said it was a pull ligament. So that's the reason why my CP got a lot worse, because in that 2 weeks, um, I had a lot of spasms. Obviously, my arm got a lot tighter, my leg got a lot tighter, and yeah, the CP got a lot worse because of my muscle tone. So um, like I said, it swings and roundabouts. If I didn't have that experience, I probably wouldn't find out about disability football when I got into disability football when I was 21, 22 again.
Yeah, and you're quite lucky in that sense. And just mentioned again that you worked at Toulouse, didn't you, for a brief period?
Yeah, that was probably my first stepping stone into work, because obviously I was in and out of hospital for about 8 years, in a wheelchair for 3 years. So that was probably the first time I got into work. And obviously Vanessa Bowden, who gave me the job, was fresh of breath air, really, to be honest. She was unbelievable at her job, and she was an unbelievable person as well. She gave me the job as a learning support assistant, and I obviously learned the ropes from her and obviously the other staff members there. And I still keep in contact with Toulouse and Toulouse workers as well, Toulouse staff, because I still keep in contact. I've got quite a few friends there, and I'm a patron at Toulouse as well. So it's only probably a little space in my heart when I first started off. So I still got a little soft spot for Toulouse.
Yeah, and I was a student there, and we crossed paths a few times in the corridors, massive corridors, I should say. But
Massive
yeah, I remember.
corridors. But like I said, the kids, the students at the time, it was unbelievable. They had a smile on their face. They always wanted to try and showcase their ability rather than their disability. They always try to strive to excellence. So that was the main thing why I stayed there for so long, because the students were unbelievable.
Yeah, and I totally agree on that. And it's very sport orientated, Toulouse, boccia, table cricket, those type of water hockey even. So they're
Yeah,
very sport
it's,
related.
it's a pathway for. Can you see me? It's my internet's
Yeah,
going.
I can still see you. Yeah, I
There's
can still see.
obviously there's a pathway and opportunities for people in wheelchairs to go on to the Paralympics, and obviously David Smith, Ben Rushgrove was there as well at the time. There's obviously a good inspiration for people to go on to that next stage of their development. It doesn't matter what development it is, and try and succeed. Obviously, there's, like I said, there's a pathway towards the Paralympics, but there's meaningful. There's opportunities to get into sport because they've done a GCSEP as well. So there is always a pathway and opportunity for people who want to go to that next level.
Definitely. And yeah, so you you got into ability football. Was there a club that you played for, or was it just the national side? Or what was your career?
Yeah, so when I first started out playing football, CP football, disability football, I found out through Ian Holloway, who gave me a coaching role down Plymouth Argyle. And that's when I first started, that's when I first found out about disability football, because there was a disabled team which was linked to Plymouth Argyle Football Club. And yeah, I went for a trial, got in, and I played there for a couple of seasons. And every year there was they usually play home park, their home stadium of Plymouth, and I scored 2 goals when we played against Liverpool. And luckily enough, there was an England scout watching at the time, and I got spotted from there and got invited up to Lilleshall.
And then you pretty much sailed at that point because Um, uh, so you've got into the disabled football Paralympic World Cup in 2010, and GB Paralympics in 2012. You got silver.
Yeah, like I said, it's like unbelievable experience playing for your country, and obviously I didn't think that was possible when I was younger, because all the barriers and the things I had to go through. But strength doesn't come from what you can do, is overcoming the things that you didn't think was possible, and it only led me into a great England career as well, because I never used to be a talented person, but my mindset was probably being the best version of myself. So I always focused on what I could do rather than what everyone else could do. And that's probably why I had a long career, because I wanted to be the best version of myself. And the only competition you look in the mirror is yourself. So that's probably why I had a long career. It wasn't because I was talented, but I just had people who also supported me, and I surrounded people who always gave me the best, pushed me in the ways that I didn't know it was possible. And obviously the limits, my limits was above and beyond, and it was all the help from my family and friends at the time, and most of all my England teammates and my Great Britain teammates as well.
Yeah, and then you 2016 you got inducted into the Hall of Fame world for the National Football Museum. You got inducted.
Yeah, so obviously I retired. I retired the first time because I didn't get into Rio 2016, but I knew beforehand it was going in a different direction, and the team was more based on mobility and ability, more mobility and flexibility and agility as well. So I didn't really, and as well, my hip only could do so much. So when I was trying to compete in, or trying to get into Rio 2016, I lost focus on what I could do and focused on what I couldn't do. So when I was trying to get into the team, I tried to get more speed, more power, more mobility, and obviously it only made me difference 2%, and I lost sense, or lost ways of what got me in the first place, and I should have done that. But listen, each to their own. I retired the first time because it was going in a different direction, and then I got inducted to the National Football Museum. It was an unbelievable experience, seeing people like David Seaman and Dennis Irwin and people like that who I looked up to when I was younger, or seen on TV, and then rubbing shoulders on the same table. So it was an unbelievable experience and honour that I am inducted to the National Football Museum.
Yeah, and then it's funny how you said that you tried the first time you came out of retirement, probably late of that year, and then you played for in football again in 2018 and 19.
Yeah, the classification changed in a year and a half later, and then obviously my disability class made me a different number. So the first time around I was fit. My condition gave me a number called the 7, and it's obviously disabled on one side, and most disabled people who are 2s are paralysed on one side of their body. And obviously with a hip replacement, I could have got into 5, but obviously the process wasn't really, the classification wasn't changed. And obviously when the classification changed, I've moved numbers, and that's the reason why I come out of retirement to help out.
That makes sense there. And then you ended up with 50 caps for England. So, to get that sort of milestone, half of 100 must be quite a good achievement.
Yeah, they built a Hall of Fame or Wall of Fame of all the England, all the people with over 50 caps and 100 caps and 150 caps, and I'm on that wall. So it's an unbelievable experience what I've done for England. But obviously the next stepping stone now is for me in trying to find a purpose now when I retired the second time around and try and improve disability representation across football.
Yeah, and yes, and so you've done very well with the footballing career. We mentioned obviously England. So after your Plymouth footballing career, did you go to any other clubs after that? And then obviously because or were you just unattached and just started playing for England and just stayed at England?
Yeah, so obviously England. Obviously, I was playing. I moved back to Bath because I was there for a few months in Plymouth to do that football coaching. But I moved back to Bath with mum and dad, and then obviously found a local grassroots team, 11-a-side team, just to tick over, and yeah, just to get my fitness up and obviously prepare myself for the World Cups and the European Cups. And obviously, I've done a few local power leagues as well, 5-a-side, 7-a-side, just to get back into the swing of things and try and get progressed and try and come out of my comfort zone a bit more and test myself against more able-bodied people. But yeah, it's a nice stepping stone of me going into different formats of the game and just to give me that best chance to getting into England.
And then when you retired the second time round, was that when SaintsAbility came up? Or did you volunteer at Saints Foundation before, or how did it come about?
Oh no, so obviously the job when the second time round is when I was still in that job role as a
Okay.
Saints development officer, looking at the elite pathway of things in Hampshire in the local area. So yeah, I was part of the Southampton or the Saints Foundation job when I was still playing the second time around.
The second time round. And look, as you mentioned at the start, you've left that now. So is that right?
Yes, yeah, I've
Yeah.
left. Obviously, I left Southampton just because it was going in a different direction. I wasn't, and a different vision, and I had different visions of what I wanted to do in that role. And obviously, I wanted to take a bit of time out as well because I didn't in that job role. I didn't see it as a job. I saw it as because obviously with me being a disability, it's my life. So I put everything into it, and obviously I needed to have a step back because it was affecting a few things at family at home, and because I was doing 6-7 days, and obviously I didn't see it as a job. So
Yeah.
so then I had to take a step back, and then I went and worked for Sky for a couple of years, and now I've set up a non-profit company called the Football Collective. The Football Disability Collective, sorry.
And
In those in those job roles, I'll tell you a bit about the Football Disability the Disability Football Collective. When I was in those job roles in Southampton, I was in that role. I didn't see anyone like myself who was cerebral palsy and or those kind of industries or those governing bodies who had the same condition as me or different disabilities than me, or especially in those management roles and leadership roles. And that's probably why myself and James Chillery set up a non-profit company called the Disability Football Collective to try and improve disability representation across football. Because it is the missing piece. It is the missing piece. And it's probably the driving force of trying to improve disability representation across the game, like especially with decision makers making positions.
yeah, and that's purely football related.
Yeah, just for now. Obviously, not every disabled person wants to be a Paralympian or get into sport or get into football. They probably want to do some stuff else, like getting into media, marketing, player care. So there's obviously ways, but there's no opportunity and pathways for that. So obviously that's why me and James, and like I said, is a missing piece for that. And we want to try and organise and manage a network of disabled people and all our allies to be working around the football industry to improve disability representation across all levels of the beautiful game.
Yeah. Well, that's really incredible. And if people listening or watching this, how can they sort of look into your business?
Yeah, so hopefully we are gonna be launching a platform for people to go into, like a WhatsApp, LinkedIn thing, into that, so they can get onto that platform. There'll be a holding page with our website which they can get in touch with. So hopefully in the next month or so, we'll get things up and running.
And then, yeah, by the time this interview comes out, it would have probably been set up by this point.
Definitely. So hopefully it's moving in the right direction of things, and like when I retired the second, I didn't know what my purpose was, because obviously I always wanted to be a Paralympian, and obviously I reached the top, and now I was trying to find something that I know nothing would touch it, but obviously finding ways that I can give something back and then try and improve and help disabled people to go on to get onto that next step.
Yeah, and coming from where you are as a youngster, no, no one knew what cerebral palsy was, no one knew cerebral palsy football and all that sort of thing, and cerebral sport in itself. Now it must be vastly improved in all areas compared to when you were.
Yeah, it's obviously going in the right direction with things. Obviously, social media helps with all the looking at it, and obviously the Paralympics helped as well, showcasing their ability rather than their disability. But it's all right us talking about it, but you rather see it instead of talking about it, and people change perceptions on that. And I think it's giving that education around it and changing that perception that anyone can be anyone. It's just giving them the chance. And obviously, disabled people are not disabled because of them. It's because of the environment they're in as well. If you disable their environment, everyone could be disabled if they take their environment away. But if you've got a good environment, then you can showcase your ability in any aspects of life.
Yeah, especially when anyone can be disabled at any point in their lives, whether you're born with it or whether you end up being disabled at some point, so it's a very big area.
Yeah, of course it is. But like if you boil a potato, it's a different way of how does the potato, it goes mushy. If you boil an egg, it goes hard. So it's obviously the environment you put in your situations. You can be disabled or non-disabled, and that's how if the environment gives you the stepping stone and giving you that opportunity and that pathway to succeed, you will do it. But if the environment doesn't, then it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for anyone.
That's a very interesting analogy there. Never heard that before, so good. And yes, and so what do you think the future is for disabled football itself?
Pardon?
Yeah, so what would you like to see the future happen for disabled football? What are your hopes and dreams for the future?
Hopefully the disabled people go. I always look at disabled football like the women's game back when the women's game was doing part-time stuff. And like 15, 20 years ago, you wouldn't see the women's game what it is today. And I always say the disability game, I really, really want it to be on the next level. But it's 15, 20 years behind, I believe. And hopefully it's a good stepping stone and people winning things and showcasing their ability, giving people the chance. Then you're only going to make it better and better. And obviously the Paralympics helped this. From before the Paralympics in London 2012, no one knew what a disability was. No one would sit down and watch disability sport in general. So that's what I want to bring to the next steps. Obviously, disability representation as well, getting more disabled people in different job roles, and then obviously the participation, the elites, so it's getting more people involved, and then getting them medals, and then trying to showcase that.
Yeah, and what's the future for you? Obviously, you've got your business now. Would you come out of retirement again for a third time?
No. I feel like a big bouncy ball. really, to be honest. Training's going to, like I said, training's hard. But obviously, when I retired the second time around, I stopped doing what I was doing with stretching, looking after myself, even, eating right. And that took a couple of years to get back on my feet because I thought I was terminated and I didn't think my CP would catch up with me, and it did. So a lot more exercise, a lot more looking after myself, and then hopefully just get a smile on my face. Really, to be honest, I'm in a good place at the moment. Obviously, with my business and then trying to do things with that and try and excel in that, and then obviously doing a bit of exercise, stretching, because obviously as you get older, it does affect you.
Well, I wouldn't know, but I'll get back to you in 40 years' time. So yes, yeah, and you had a brilliant career, and it's thanks to those scouting people and everything to, put on your career the way it is now, and what you're doing with the business is just incredible. And I'll be looking forward to looking at it when it's up. So you're doing an incredible job, and thank you very much for coming on, Martin.
No worries, Pete. Thank you very much.
Voice FM.